The sleep study that changed everything. I agreed to the sleep study because I hadn't had a real night's sleep in months. I wasn't just tired, I was haunted. Every morning, I'd wake up feeling like I'd run a marathon, my heart racing, muscles sore, with these strange flashes of memory that weren't mine. Or at least, not from this life. My doctor thought it was night terrors. My best friend joked it was sleepwalking. But I knew something was off. I wasn't just dreaming, I was experiencing. I remembered names I didn't know, cities I'd never been to, and a man whose face made my chest ache with longing. Enter the sleep study. A sterile room, dozens of electrodes taped to my scalp, a camera pointed at my bed. I figured they'd just tell me I tossed and turned a lot. But the morning after, the tech wouldn't meet my eyes. Later, a neurologist sat me down. She said, "We don't have a medical explanation for what we saw." Apparently, during REM sleep, I was speaking in a language I'd never learned. My eyes moved like I was watching real-life events. And then there was the footage. They showed me myself smiling, whispering Alexei, like it was the most precious word in the world. That name. I'd been waking up with it on my lips for weeks, but I didn't know an Alexei. Until that night, when I fell asleep again, and woke up not in my bed, but in a stone-walled room lit by candlelight, with a man standing in front of me saying, "You came back." His name was Alexei, and somehow in my sleep I was living a second life, with him. The man in my dreams. I thought I was losing my mind. Every night I slipped into a different world, and every morning I woke up grieving it. In my waking life, I was a barista/failed poet trying to make rent in Portland. But when I slept, I was someone else, someone bold, royal even. In that world, I was called Anya. I lived in a coastal city with spires of glass and lived in a palace beside Alexei. And somehow, I knew him. I knew how his voice dipped when he was worried, how he kissed my knuckles like I was breakable, how he once gave me a necklace of stones that shimmered like moonlight. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt like a life. Back in Portland, I was unraveling, friends noticed. I'd zone out mid-shift, couldn't focus, forgot simple things like where I'd parked or what day it was. I didn't tell anyone about the dreams. How could I? Alexei began to worry. "You're slipping," he said one night in the dream world, brushing my hair back. "You leave me a little more each time." I didn't understand. I thought I was imagining it all. But then I found something. In my Portland apartment, buried in a box I hadn't touched in years, was a necklace. His necklace. The same stones, the same clasp. I had no memory of ever owning it. That's when I stopped doubting. I wasn't just dreaming. Somehow I was living two lives. One in this world, one in his. And I was starting to lose both. Choosing between two lives. The worst part of living two lives? Realizing you can't have both. My waking life continued to collapse. I was fired from the cafe for missing too many shifts. My friends pulled back, tired of my dazed answers and sudden mood swings. And all the while my nights were filled with Alexei, his love, his world, his quiet desperation as he watched me fade. I began to wonder, was I meant to stay there? What if that world was more real than this one? I asked him one night. We were standing by a window overlooking an ocean that shimmered like stardust. "What if I don't come back?" I asked. "What if I choose this life?" He held me close, kissed my forehead, and said, "Then stay." But when I woke up the next morning, the necklace was gone. And so was the world I'd built with him. For the first time in weeks, I'd had a dreamless sleep. Empty. Cold. I broke down. Thought I'd lost him forever. But I did something I hadn't done before. I wrote it all down. Every memory, every place, every word. It turned into a story, then a manuscript, then a book. It got picked up by a small publisher, called The Man Between Worlds, and with it came interviews, travel, connection, a second chance at life. And at one of those book events in a small shop in Prague, a man stepped forward during the signing. Dark hair, gray eyes, familiar smile. He said, "You came back." And I knew in that moment both lives had finally become one.